Clearly, some of y'all need some help because it seems like a lot of y'all don't know what Black History Month is about, what it's for, and I gotta hop on here and help y'all out because there's some things happening in the book world, especially right now, and it's not looking too pretty. So I'm gonna help y'all out. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jay Monet, and I'm here to talk about Black History Month and book recs because a lot of y'all don't really understand that book recs for Black History Month should be about Black history. So let me start from the beginning. Black History Month was originally Negro History Month. Black History Month was adapted from it was just expanded. But Carter G. Woodson created Negro History Week to expand the study of Black history. It's for teaching and learning Black history. So why is it, even with history in the title, y'all still can't seem to grasp that the month is about celebrating our history? I keep seeing book recommendations from influencers or Black readers in general and writers, and from publishers and prints and whatnot, and like overarching major publishers, recommending books that are not related to history, whether nonfiction or fiction. They have books that were on Black history, but they're not written by Black people, which is a whole nother issue. And they have books that were written by Black people who aren't African American. It's like, y'all not understanding it all. Like, why am I seeing Black History Month recs with books from like Chimamanda or a bunch of Black British writers, and it's like, this is African American Black History Month. I think it's Canada's too, but like I'm talking about specifically with the US. Why is it so hard to recommend books from African American authors? I'm not understanding why it's so hard for y'all to do that. But the major reason why I'm coming on here to talk about this is not just because of the books that people are choosing to recommend and like major posts on. The main reason why I'm here is because people keep throwing a fit about what's being highlighted during Black History Month. To really think about it, we wouldn't be Black without the trauma we've endured. And people are just like complaining like, they're like, I can't believe I walk into Barnes & Noble or some bookstore and the Black History Month table is just books about slavery. And it's like, that's the point. You all don't even look for these books outside of it. So why you're throwing a fit over these books being highlighted for this 1 month is ridiculous. But it's also like, most of our history on this land was through slavery. You're gonna get books about slavery being put to the front during this month because it's Black History Month. Slavery was part of our history. Slavery, segregation, the Reconstruction, Civil Rights Movement. Y'all over here complaining about these books getting highlighted this month. Black trauma, when our history is traumatic. And there's so many things still from slavery that we don't know about. I even took a course in college about slavery. I learned things that I didn't know before. But my professor's like, there's still so many things we don't know, and it's like, yeah, there's so many things we don't know, and y'all are complaining that people are highlighting books on slavery. And it's weird. Not only is it weird, it's disrespectful, and it's also like self-hating. That's some internalized anti-Blackness you need to worry about, because if you're throwing a fit over people's highlighting important historical things that happen because they're traumatic, well, it's like, do you hate our history? Basically, Blackness like race in general came from trauma. Like you can't separate trauma from blackness. We wouldn't have race at all. Like race is here because of trauma and all the things we went through. It didn't just come out of nowhere. So you can't just say, I love being black. I love all the things we came up with. When the things we came up with came from traumatic events, and traumatic events can't be separated from it. Like, do you understand? Like, I get it. It's hard. It's a hard thing to think about, talk about, read about. But at the same time, y'all generally don't read these books in the first place. Let's keep it real here. Y'all don't read these books. Y'all read romance and fantasy and all that, but you read the ones that, when you see something that's talking about like black trauma, you throw a fit over it and you're like, I don't like this, I'm not reading this anymore. I'm deducting stars because it has reality in it. Y'all want your books to be escapism. Well, this month ain't for you then, because it's Black History Month. You're not gonna just put, I don't know, like, you can't just put these cutesy little books forward and be like, this is Black history. No, that's not the point of the month. The point of the month is to share our history, to learn more about ourselves and each other in our history. Putting forth books that have nothing to do, have zero ties to history, it's pointless. Like, you're missing the whole purpose of this cultural month. It's not just about celebrating black people. It's celebrating what we've been. It's not really even celebration. It's about learning our past, learning all the things we've been through and how it connects to current times, you know? I don't know what's not clicking in a lot of people's heads, but like, you can't say you want to celebrate Black History Month, but you want to remove the whole point of the month out, and then get mad at people for highlighting shit we've been through. Like, come on, like, use your head. Anyways, for the people who actually care about the month and want to learn some things and want to actually celebrate Black history, I have some recs. You have The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. It's about the Great Migration, where black people post-Reconstruction left, or like post-Reconstruction, traveled from the South to elsewhere in the country, so the Midwest, North, East Coast, the West as well. It's thick, but it's mostly because of the citations in the back. So the book isn't as big as you would expect it to be. It's only, the actual narrative is only, I say only, it's still a lot. It's 543 pages for the narrative, and like with all the citations and whatnot, it's over 600. So a lot of these books are gonna be thick because it has citations and whatnot, because it's going over history. So obviously it's gonna be thick. Well, you can take it in strides. It's not hard. It's separated easily, so you can just take it chapter by chapter. Another one is A Voice from the South by Anna Julia Cooper, one of the OG post-slavery black feminists. And this is really about black feminism and political theory. And it's a good one to go with. Booker T. Washington, Up from Slavery. Yes, he's the founder of Tuskegee, but he was born into slavery. This is his memoir, so to get a personal background from someone who did endure slavery and what happened afterwards, this is a good option for you. And then you have slave narratives like Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. Yes, I have 3 copies, and I'm gonna have a 4th. And Harriet Jacobs, her slave narrative is probably like the most important in my opinion. It tackles how she, from the beginning, where she wasn't really a slave, she was enslaved obviously, but she wasn't forced to work, and then she was sold into slavery and into like real true slavery, and she had children. It shows, it's like an early text of Black feminism, and how in various ways that Black women try to resist feminism. It's really powerful. It is a tough read, obviously, but I would suggest reading any version. But yeah, there are so many different editions that you can pick up. But if you have to read one slave narrative, I would suggest hers. The older ones, before her name was revealed, it says Linda Brent. That's the name that she went by, but it's Harriet Jacobs. She had to be anonymous so she wouldn't get caught by her master. And another recommendation, Zora Hurston's Barracoon, about the last human cargo, the last person brought on a slave ship to the U.S. It was after the law that was enacted that said no more transportation from the African continent to the U.S. Of course, people broke it all the time, but this was the last one. Barracoon is very, very important. It is in dialect, so it's written how Cudjoe, that is in Cudjoe, how he speaks. So you'll have to take some time with it if it's not something you're really used to. Other examples I don't want to look for, pull out or whatnot. You have Frederick Douglass's book, his autobiography. You have Assata Shakur and Angela Davis's memoirs and autobiographies, and you have Malcolm X's. You can read plenty of autobiographies from like civil rights movements and Black Power movements. You have you can read about Black authors in the past, like Black women writers at work. That is also important. If you wanted to read nonfiction, historical works about like famous Black women authors from a canon, you can read The Miseducation of the Negro. Like, there's so many options you can read that were written by Black people. And I think you can go through fiction and use fiction as a jumping point and read books based on historical things and use that as a jumping point to further study actual historical things, that actual Black history. I have a few examples in my room right now. I'm not gonna go digging through all my books, that's too much work. But for example, you have the new release by Victoria Christopher Murray, and that's Harlem Rhapsody, a fictionalized account of Jessie Redmond Fawcett's time with the Crisis magazine and her affair with W.E.B. Du Bois. And it talks about various Harlem Renaissance writers and whatnot, so you can use that to like look into various writers and the Harlem Renaissance in general. You also have Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow, which goes through tons of historical fiction. It goes through generations of this family from Tennessee, and it has it goes through like the civil rights movement and whatnot, so you can use this to look at various figures and the civil rights movement in Memphis specifically. And then you have Renee Watson's Skin and Bones. It's her debut adult fiction. Really, really good book. My favorite book of 2024, my favorite 2024 release. And it's both contemporary but also has historical pieces in it. And the historical parts are history of Black people, and it's Black history in Portland, Oregon, which a lot of people don't know much about. I personally don't know much about the black population in the Pacific Northwest. So this is a good jumping point to look into that. And finally, my favorite, oh no, I have two more books actually. Yeah, my favorite 2023, 2023 release. Pretty sure this was 2023. Tananarive Due,'s The Reformatory, which is a gothic horror. It's so good. I did not want to put it down when I picked it up, but it talks about a lot of civil rights icons, but most specifically it's based on the Dozier School for Boys in Florida. There are plenty of documentaries and books about it, like nonfiction stuff about it, but Tananarive Due bases off of both that reformatory and a great uncle of hers who was taken into the Dozier Reformatory and ended up losing his life. And people don't know why. The footman wasn't told why, and she didn't know about it until they were digging up bodies from the graveyard at the Dozier School. So this one's really tough, but it's also really powerful and a very important read. So finally, we have Toni Morrison's Beloved, which is another gothic horror. And this one is loosely based off of an actual woman, Margaret Garner. During the time when the Fugitive Slave Act was enacted, she fled from slavery with her children and ended up killing her children instead of allowing them to go back and be enslaved. And so Toni Morrison took that and made a story about it. It's very powerful. It's my favorite Toni Morrison book, honestly. And I tell my people who follow me on Twitter, I'm like, yo, if you follow me, you gotta read this book. This and The Reformatory, you gotta read these books if you're gonna continue to follow me, because they're very important. And to get to know me, you gotta read these books. But it's a good jumping point to look into Margaret Garner's story, the Fugitive Slave Act, and slavery in general, and how slavery affects people in the country post-slavery, post-Reconstruction, all that into this day. So like I said, you can use fiction to look into history, but use it as a starting point, and you can jump off and to actually look into actual things that we went through. Like, you don't have to just look into nonfiction. Fiction also helps, but you can't just be reading fiction that has nothing to do with history. If your fiction is completely detached from reality, then it's not, then it has nothing to do with Black History Month. I'm sorry, but like, that's how it works. So yeah, that's all I had to say. Really, like, it's been driving me nuts that through every single day this month that people have been using Black History Month to shit on our history and things we've been through, and always drag Black trauma. It's like, our history is traumatic and we can't just ignore that. We have to, like, the whole point of the month is to learn our history and to just be like, I can't believe these books are getting attention and not these books. It's like, well, you don't care about these books any other time of the month, so maybe the problem's you and not the books being put on display, because the whole point is to have these books brought to everybody's attention so people can learn, not just us, but non-Black people, non-African American Black people. Everyone should be learning this stuff, because it's, even though it's heavy, it's the truth and it still affects us to this day.